Okay, welcome back. Let's see if it's working. Okay, looks like it is. Welcome back to our coding session for today. If you're just opening this video wondering what it is that you're looking at, I have been on a journey for a few years now to learn how to code, and it's all been self-taught. I started from zero. I've worked my way up using Harvard's coding courses, and now I'm basically working on the final project for the web course as a full stack developer. So let's get right into it. And I just want to show you quickly here what it is that we're doing. So I'm building a bigger app, but just for the sake of simplicity, I want to develop each piece separately. So the actual app, I'm actually calling it a project, and inside of that project I have smaller apps, and each smaller app, it's like, like a smaller chunk that I'm going to take off of the big project. So for now we're working on this features app, which falls inside of, it kind of falls inside with another 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say another 4 other apps. So total the project is 5 apps. We've managed to at this point develop some of this. So let's take a look at what we have so far. Here I have some of the code, and I just want to activate bin activate, and then yeah, then we can start our server, run server, and take a look at what we have. And there it is. So in the feedback, yesterday we spent a lot of time making this work, but you can see that more or less, yeah, it looks like what we have on that Figma design. So it's not exactly the same, but for the amount of time that I'm willing to put into this, and given the requirements for the course, I think that this passes. This is good enough just to get like a beta version published and start getting users. I might work on this card a little bit later just to make it a little bit nicer. This card here, it just looks a little bit weird, but I'm not too worried about it. So the point here is that you see everything is responsive, everything works. No, it doesn't matter which screen size you have. We have accommodated for that, even if you're using, a small screen or a huge screen. So that's that. We managed to get to this point. Now this upvoting here doesn't actually work. So I would say that's what we want to work on today. So in order to do this, think about it, you have to click on the button. When you click on that button, it sends a certain request to the server processes it, returns something, and then it reloads that one card for which you've liked. And it has to do that, or at least it has to reload that button, because the amount of likes here has to be updated. And I'm not getting into it right now, but we could go into the database right now and start messing with the likes over there, and you'll see that these numbers will change. Just take my word of it that it's working. I tested one yesterday here just to see like how it would look if you have like a bigger number here, and how this would affect, the size of the button. To me it seems like it's fine. This is good enough, again, just to get a beta version out and start to test this product with users. And so let's go ahead and start figuring out how we can go ahead and make this. So I'm gonna minimize this a little bit now, and we still also have the problem where the background color, you see it doesn't go all the way down. We'll fix that later. For now I just want to focus on these like buttons. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take a look at the logic. What are these buttons doing? And to do that, I want to go ahead and go back to the previous homework that we had in the network and take a look at how I was handling that over there. So let's take a look. We have a post like button for a post ID. Okay, so we're keeping track of a few things. We're keeping track if the user who is currently logged in has liked that post in the past. And I want to take a look at that quickly. Um, 1 second. Just want to zoom in a little so you guys can see a little better. Okay, good. And we can make this smaller. It doesn't need to be so big. Okay. Right, so it's keeping track of a few things. The post ID, it's keeping track of whether the current user has already liked it, etc. So right off the bat, let's see here, we have our post like button. Which is all of this here. And then we have a paginator. Okay, so we don't need the paginator. We don't need this use effect here. We already have that. This is all the main stuff. And at the top, I think it's just having to do with like to make new ones and other things. Okay, so let's go down here. We have this function that I think we can reuse. So it's called so let's start with our variables. We have post feed, page number, and so we will need this here. Post like reload. So here we need our variables to keep track of in memory of when we need to reload the page after liking or voting or unvoting one of these suggestions here. So let's go ahead and do post form. I think we just keep that down here. No. In the post feed. Very good. So we'll put that in here. So we have a way of keeping track of that, and we'll go back here for a second. And we have this update post form. We don't need that right now. And again, this is all inside that one big function, so we can ignore all of this. We're gonna ignore our edit post function as well as the unedit. And then we get to this function here, which handles all this stuff. And I believe that all this stuff is actually, I did not indent it correctly, but meaning this should go here. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so all this is really one big function, and functions end at the return, so I need that as well. Then after that we have a new function. So all of this code we can reuse to our post feed. And just to double check here, I want to make sure that this is defined in the correct place. So let's see. Yeah, as far as I see, this is all being defined. Post feed. I believe it's above, let's see. Yeah, it's above our use effect. So we will put it also above our use effect here. I don't know, that's super important, but that means that we can just paste it right here. So we have, I guess we have a function within a function at this point. Let me just make sure that is in fact how we have it over there. So our post like button function is inside the post feed function. I'm just going to double check that here. So we have here the post like button is inside it's inside our post feed as well. And this post feed takes some props. Fine. So that seems to check so far. So we're in the feedback post feed, very good. And again, we have these constants which I don't think we need to mess with. So let's work our way through the actual functionality here. So the handle light takes an event, which obviously is that click, and we will make sure that we pass that later on. But what does it do? It fetches from this address right here. So we're gonna have to start building this in our backend, which is over here, our views. And as a review again, this is all in Python on the right, and to the left here, this is all in JavaScript, specifically the React flavor of JavaScript. And on the right here in Python, we're running with Django. So let's see. The first thing I would do is just to go to our URLs here. And so we have, new feedback, we have a feedback engine, etc. So let's make a new route here, which is going to be path. Okay, and this path has the route called, we're going to call it like post. Let's call it like feedback. I do believe we need to put the slash there. Like feedback. And we'll change it here as well. Like feedback. And then it's going to send some type of number, an ID. So we got to keep track of that. And the way to do that, we do like this. We write integer. And we're going to call this post ID or even feedback ID. Okay, that's one thing. And then we have to import which view will that link up to. So that would be views dot like feedback. And then the name for that will be like feedback. Now it's giving an error that our views, there's no view called like feedback. So we have to make it. We can go ahead and do that over here. So we have feedback engine. It doesn't really matter where you put it. I'll just put in between these two. And I'm going to do the CSRF exam for now. CSRF. We're going to have to clear all those later before we publish the app. Exempt. Okay. And then def like feedback, that takes a request. And we're going to pass for now. And we cleared out our debugging here, so it should be okay now. So now we have to implement it though. So let's take a look back here in our networks. The views for the network, okay. And we can go ahead and take a look at our like post and also our unlike post. Okay, and I'm just gonna actually do it from over here, if that makes sense. Unlike post, just like that. And we're gonna paste that over here. Again, I'm reusing a lot of this code, which I'm allowed to because I wrote it. You can see it's definitely speeding up the dev process here. So I would say that's the unlike post, like feedback. We're going to rename this to unlike feedback, and we'll just go ahead right now and yeah, I need a minute here, but I got multiple things going on at the same time. but we can go right here and make a new route, unlike feedback, and let's just copy paste this. Yeah, so that would be unlike feedback. And I'm noticing that this unlike feedback is actually taking in the integer, so we'll leave it as is, feedback ID, and this would be unlike feedback, unlike feedback, and if we go back to our views, unlike feedback is taking this post ID, but at the top here it's not. This like feedback is not taking that post ID, and I'm wondering why. Let's see here. Request method post. It's just my mistake. Okay, so it should So it should also take that. Okay, so they both taking it. So they're both basically GET requests. Does that make sense? To the server. Let's see index for feedback, and so actually no, this is a post request, even though we're not sending anything. So maybe it's a way to send the CSRF token. It could be. Yeah, see here, that's what that says here, which we're not, again, all this stuff has to be cleared out later. Okay, so we have the like feedback here. I'm gonna leave it as a post just because that's what I'm sending up here. And if that method is post, then it's gonna try this. It'll get the user. It'll get that post ID which we are passing. And I forgot what this is called, but we are passing it up here. This is called I'd have to figure it out, but this is called, I don't know if it's a decorator or what it is. Like it's a variable that you're passing after that / there as part of a URL. There's a name for that, but I forgot. But the point is that we are passing, that's how we're passing our post ID, then we're taking that in and using it over here to find the object in the database of that post ID. And then we make a new like, and then that's it. So let's go into our database real quick, or rather our models here, and we'll see that we have two things that we need to add here. So the new like will be feedback like. Okay, so current user, and this is actually something called teleport user.objects.get request okay, and then we have like post would be like feedback. I gotta rename all these variables now. And my feedback model is up here. So I would put that in here. Feedback.objects.get. And then here we're going to change it to feedback ID. Feedback. Sorry, not that. Let's see. Feedback. And really, where is this getting its name from? Where is this feedback ID getting its name from is actually from the URLs file here. It's whatever name we put in here. So the like feedback, the integer will, or whatever appears after that / there will always be, I guess, packaged or saved in the backend in the server as an integer variable with the name of feedback ID. And this feedback ID is what we're taking in here. You see, if there was a different name between this, if this wasn't the same name here as over there, it wouldn't work. So you have to make sure that that's actually the same there. And then afterwards you could rename it if you need to, but I don't think we need to here. So feedback ID, we get the feedback object that gives us our liked feedback. That's what we're looking for. And request that user ID is going to give us whoever the current user is. It's going to give us his ID number, and then we can use that to get our user. Right? Okay. So we should have that. Okay, that should be all right now. And that new like is being kept here as a feedback like. So new like would be post like. Yeah, so it would be feedback like, where the user equals current user, and the feedback instead of post equals liked feedback. Okay. The feedback equals liked feedback. User is equal to current user, so that should be okay. That should be okay. And then we're gonna save that like. That particular piece of information we're gonna use later. And obviously the timestamp, we don't need to put that in because we have auto null true, so the server will figure out what time it is, what day it is. Now we do have to set that up in the settings, in the Django settings, before we publish to AWS, but that will be at a later time. So that's one thing. Now we still have this way of adding how many total likes does a particular feedback card have. The reason I'm doing that is so that I can use that number to sort the feedbacks here, because I do want to show the one that has the most likes at the top first. And the only real way of doing that is if I'm saving how many likes each one has over here. So I did save that new like. Now I do want to go ahead and also add. I want to do something like I already have here. I already have my liked feedback, so I can just load it over here. That object is currently in memory, so I can just like feedback dot feedback likes. This is like a very basic thing here. I believe will be plus equal. Oh, maybe that's invalid syntax. Okay, will be equal to this over here. So it will be itself plus 1. And why itself plus 1? Because we want to take whatever we already had in that value and add 1 like to it. And after we do that, we have to save it. Don't forget to save it. So it would be liked feedback. Yes, dot save. That's the method there for that variable. It saves it back into the database, and that's it. So now when we reload that, it should sort those posts by likes. Saying hello to Farhan Sheikh. Welcome back. I don't know if you were here yesterday or the day before, but I guess welcome back to YouTube. I'm sure you've been on YouTube before. So look, that's it. Okay, so I think once we have it, then we can go ahead and return this JSON response, and then this JSON response is probably being saved somewhere, which will trigger. It's probably being saved in a variable, which if that variable changes, will trigger a reload of that button. Now, one bug that I could already think of, which we're not going to solve for at all, at least in the alpha and beta versions of this app, is that I'm only going to be reloading the button. I'm not going to reload the whole feed just for a like. Okay, what that means is that you could have, like if I were to like this one down here, this will say 1 and this one will say 0, but the only way you're going to see this one being displayed above the other one is if you actually reload the page. So that's something to keep in mind. Not so important, doesn't really matter, doesn't make that big of a difference. Again, this feedback thing here is not really a feature of the actual app. It's just a feature for me, the developer, to be able to take in feedback from the users on what functionality I should be working on, what features I need to build next, instead of wasting time on my own figuring out and building things that in the end people might not even like. So the idea is that we want to crowdsource from our users what it is that they want to see in the app. So because of that, I'm not going to be super particular about the fonts and about everything, because this is not even really part of the product, right? This is just for me, the developer of that product. But you know, it is very nice. You know, it does work, and so that should be good enough. So let's continue with the logic here. So we're keeping track of some type of exception here, which I'm not sure. And the same as here. We're reversing to the index, which should be okay. Maybe feedback index would be better. Feedback. Feedback index, okay. Right, so basically we've roughed in, and I'm not saying this code works yet, but we've definitely roughed in here more or less what it is that we need in the backend for this to work. And if we go back to our JavaScript here, right, so we have we're fetching into that route, which is called like feedback, just to double check that's eventually turns into a view here after going through the URLs. Like feedback here, int feedback ID, that just to make sure that I don't have any typos there, feedback ID, like feedback. And the method is post. And really the only, it's a weird thing to do a post request on a URL decorator, and I think that's what it's called. So it's weird to do a post request when you're just sending data as part of the actual URL. Usually that's just a GET request, but I think the reason we're doing that here eventually is so that we can keep track of this thing called a bearer token, which is just a way of clearing the CSRF up here. If we have to have token with the request, we would send like this unique token to the server to validate that it is a valid request. The reason we would do that is because without that, it would be quite easy for someone to just send data to the server without necessarily having the authorization to do it. But I'm not looking, I don't think anyone's going to be hacking me on this. So we'll just leave it like that for now. Something to keep in mind, definitely if you have paying users, you know, more than a handful of paying users, once your app starts to grow and you're, you sort of start really, people start depending on you and giving you money for this, and so now you have a bit of a commitment to, not a bit, you have a lot of a commitment to make sure that the app is stable and secure and that their data doesn't get lost. They're trusting with their data, you know. So that's that. But you know, for now, that's what we're doing. Then we send that as a JSON. Actually, we don't even envelope it. No, we send a JSON response back here, and we open the JSON envelope, and after that we do this thing called handle post like reload. And so my handle post like reload, all it does is to change the value of this variable. which is like a use state variable. So what this means is that our button somewhere, we're gonna have to make sure that we are tracking the value of this variable here so that the button knows, hey, whenever the value of this variable changes, I need to reload. The way to do that is probably somewhere down here. I will see what the way is. I'm not sure right now where that goes. I don't remember if it was like in the parent or somewhere else. We'll take a look in a minute. It could be up here or it could be somewhere else. I have to look at exactly where that goes, but something to keep in mind. Otherwise, if I click here, you won't see anything. You would have to reload the page. If we do it via use state, then every time I click, immediately you're gonna see it live. The app will be very responsive. Hey Farkan, so you're saying you didn't watch the other live streams, but I watch your other videos. Okay, thank you. So yeah, I hope that you found them useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and yeah, where are you in the journey? Like, what's your like, what course, what homework are you up to? Okay, let's see. Exception. Wait, that seems about right. All this stuff seems about right. Handle post like reload, but that post like reload. I just gotta find out where are we keeping track of this post like reload. So we'll go back to our network. We're gonna try to find it. See, we're keeping track of down here. Um, I'm not sure what this is. One second. This is the paginator. No. Yeah, I remember this is something that caught me a little bit, got me very confused last time I did this. But you kind of just have to trust that it's only gonna reload the one thing that you need. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure. It kind of does look like this is reloading everything. Like I'm making this post like reload a dependency on my general use effect for the post engine, which is how I'm loading all my posts. You see the return here is literally the entire post feed here. Something to keep in mind. So Farhan's saying that he's a WordPress developer intermediate level, but he wants to learn new things and he's thinking about ReactJS or Vue. So I don't have any experience with Vue. I have seen, I don't know, I guess I have seen some job posts looking for Vue developers. I haven't seen actually React in a long time. I used to see them all the time. I used to see them like multiple posts, like in my area. Let's say like if around me, I don't know, like 50 miles around me, many companies looking for. I mean, I would literally see 3, 4 posts a day, and now I haven't seen one in a while. So I don't know. A Vue, I've seen a couple, and at least in my area, it is very popular. .NET, the .NET framework. Someone asked the other day about that. Um, that's in C sharp. Not really sure, but um, this we're doing here in the front end, this is all React. On the left here, this is all React code. And on the right, we're using Django, which is all Python, which in my opinion is a great framework, but I'm not really an expert. I'm just using it because that's what the course teaches. But I see how it's very powerful, and there are a lot of big companies that use it. Like I believe YouTube is coded in Django, also Airbnb. I think Instagram also is coded in Django. So it could be very powerful, and especially because you can import a ton of libraries here. You can import here like AI stuff and like I don't know um, computer vision stuff, all kinds of libraries. I'm sure you could probably do that also in other in like I don't know if you were running Node.js, you could probably do it also, but you probably have to do it through a Python script or something. I'm not sure. Like here, you just do it directly here. Um, that being said, I believe that Django here is monolithic, which basically means that you have to publish the entire app into like one server, or maybe you could have backups of that server. I'm sure that's possible. Um, but I don't think it's something that you do like microservices with, where each app you would publish differently. Maybe it's possible. I just haven't tried it. But yeah, if you're good at WordPress, which I also was at one point, I was even selling like WordPress sites to just like as a freelance developer. I would just make websites for people and charge them either like a yearly support fee or a one-time fee, and then they would just be on their own. Um, so yeah, I just recommend just stick to the CS50, go from the very beginning all the way up to where I am today here, and you'll be fine. I think once you learn one framework, it'll be fairly easy to learn a different framework. And it's not even about the framework. Like I know people that are very good, .NET developers, and they work at like mainstream companies, let's say similar to like IBM, and they told me like code the app that you're making now, code it in whatever you know. It doesn't really matter what you code in. What matters is, can you make an app that solves a problem for someone, and can you do it in a way which that person will be convinced to give you some money for it. And that's the truth, whether it's your own app and you're trying to make to sell it to users, or whether you're just trying to do freelance work for other people and sell, make an app for them or make a website for them or whatever. You have to convince them also. Or whether it is you're trying to get a job. At the end of the day, the thing that you really need to focus on is to build projects. Build this type of project and just run with it. So don't get too stuck on React or Vue or this or that. I would just say go with React in the backend. Go with Django. CS50 gives you all the lessons that you need in order to really become very, very proficient with this stuff. You don't need to waste time on different tutorials and different courses and different people. Just stick to one course. And CS50 has many. I'm sure you saw my video, the one video that I have that's very popular, which I can't describe the different options of CS50. You just follow that roadmap. I followed it. I'm giving myself advice, and I follow my own advice. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, and just build projects, and you'll be fine. That's one thing. Whether or not this is a good career choice now in 2020, going into 2025, I'm not really sure. To be honest, it is definitely not the same that it like when I remember when I started back in 2020. I'm telling you, I would go on these job boards and I would find 3, 4 different posts every day looking for a React developer, looking for Node.js, looking for .NET, looking for even PHP. Now, I don't know, maybe there's 1 or 2 posts per week, and they're very, they could be about anything. I've seen PHP, HTML, I've seen Node.js, React, I've seen a couple of .NET. So it's not the same like how it was 4 or 5 years ago. So whether or not it's a good career, whether or not it's a good idea to go into a CS degree right now, I don't know. It's hard to tell. And I don't think it has to do anything to do with AI, in my opinion. It doesn't. I think it just has to do with the fact that we are kind of reaching the plateau, like as a society, even an international society, we are reaching the plateau of like what there is to build. Like we've already built it. Like the iPhone has not changed in 10 years. Like the design looks the same since 2007 more or less. Like it was a big innovation. The phones that were in the world back in 2006 or 5, 2005 versus the phones that came out after the iPhone, that was a big leap. That was a huge leap. But honestly, the iPhone has looked the same for over 10 years, 15 years. Like there isn't real innovation there. Like it's more or less the same. And the same goes for apps. Other than AI, okay, ChatGPT, that was a big jump. But that's sort of already plateaued. Like, okay, it's not improving anymore. It's not making these giant leaps on improvement. So that's why I'm kind of saying that I'm not sure computer science. Honestly, I don't know which career is good. Maybe medicine. People always need doctors. But yeah, we've as a and I'm sure there's scientific names for all these things. It's like the rate of innovation as a society. It doesn't matter which country you're from. Just as a world, really, the rate of innovation is slowing down because we've already built everything there is to build. We already built Gmail. We already built WhatsApp. We already have Instagram. We already built everything has been done already. What else is there left to do? You can make things that exist already. Maybe you can make them a little better and find like a super niche thing, and then try to code something, which is what I'm doing here. I just eventually hoping to get to a very specific niche, and I'm looking at it as just one project of I'm gonna finish this project. I'm gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna try to promote it a little bit, and then I'm gonna move on to building another project and another project, just to become proficient, and hopefully I'll have enough. Number one, to either be able to move, forward more and more in the professionally, like in terms of jobs, or maybe one of these apps that I build will get some nice users, and I could use that, focus on that. I guess we'll see, but yeah, that's like one thing. I think this is very noticeable also with like if you want a best example of all this that I just said, I think it's you look at Apple and what they are doing nowadays. Where are they going exactly? I'm having a very hard time to understand like where are they innovating? They've they've already built the MacBook Pro to be an amazing computer. They already have an iPhone that's amazing. Like how much more could they innovate? They've already innovated. They could take a break now. Like they're done. And I could say that probably for most tech companies. Like they've already like what exactly are they innovating? And that's the rule of life. Like back in the day, it used to be with land. Like cities. There was a certain amount of land, people build on it, and then that was it. No more land. So it's sort of the same here. It's like there's a certain amount of things that need to be innovated. Everybody has innovated on those things. What is there left to do? So those are my 2 cents of a rant. But honestly, if you're coming from, I still think there's a lot of opportunity, especially if you do good work and you're proficient. And being proficient is not figuring out what the best leak code solution is. That's not what proficient means. Proficient means that you tell someone, whether it's a customer, whether it's an employer, whoever, you say you're gonna give them something and you deliver on that. When you say you're gonna do something, you do it. When you say you're not gonna do something, you don't do it. Your yes is your yes, and your no means no. If you make for yourself a little bit of a reputation like that, people are going to trust you. People are going to give you opportunity. I'm sure there's tons of opportunity out there. Honestly, there's still a lot of businesses that run on spreadsheets. There's still a lot of businesses that run on phone calls and useless meetings. Like, I'm sure there's still a lot of time to be saved by implementing new technologies. I'm sure that's still out there. So yeah, you just have to trust yourself, do good work, and hopefully you'll make it. So going back here, let's see where we were. So we're still trying to implement this thing here. So all I'm saying is that I believe that this post-like reload will reload the entire feed. And I'm gonna make something up right now. I'm gonna totally make something up right now. Let me see here. So we have the post like button. Our post like button has likes, user liked, and post ID. And then that is what is being passed up here into our post like button. Yeah, so this is a bit of a leap of faith, what I'm about to say, but I think this is how it works, and I could not understand this. I tried understanding, and I didn't. It's just, this is faith at this point, which is whatever. So over here, whenever we change, where is it? Whenever we change this, right, whenever we trigger this function here of post like reload, you know, we are definitely keeping track of this with our use effect, and our use effect loads everything. I mean, it loads the entire feed. The leap of faith is here that we have to trust that it's built into, I believe it's built into React, that the only thing that will reload out of all this is the element from which we are changing the value of this function. So that is being changed up here on the button itself, right? You see handle post like reload, that is coming from our handle, our post like button. So because of that, only that will change and everything else will stay the same. I believe that's how back in the day ChatGPT explained it to me. So yeah, that's the leap of faith. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the goal is that we don't want to reload. Every time we like something here, we don't want to reload the entire page. We only want to reload that one div that contains the button. Okay. Let's see here. And so, I just got to make sure that I'm keeping track of it. So I'll go into my feedback here, and this post like reload. Yeah. So this post like reload has to be added as a dependency of my use state. Post like reload. So my use state is down here. Use effect, sorry. And I'm gonna add that over here. So props.reload space post like reload. Let me see if that's correct. Yeah. And the reason why it's being added plain without and not as a prop is why. Let's see. Page number. I'm not really sure. I don't know why it's. Let me know in the comments if you guys know why it's. Why is it like that and not like this? Props. Why is it not props dot post like reload and it's just post like reload plain? Network post like reload. Right, maybe because we're just passing that onto the use effect. We're not actually passing it inside of the use effect, we're passing it to the use effect. I think that's what it is. The same with our page number. Let me see. Oh, the page number is being used in here. I have no idea. But I'm just going to copy paste that. I guess now I'm a real developer when I say it. I have no idea. I'm just going to copy paste. But that's how it should be. Props.reload. Right, because the props is everything that you pass like from the main React. So like over here. right? So the props have to do with the main window, and then everything that's not part of that can be passed down directly. That's what it is. But the point is, whenever this post like reload reloads, um, for some reason, this use effect will keep track on which card that was, which of these cards it was, and it will only reload the button for that one card. I believe that's how it is. Okay. All right, so trying again. Let's reload this. And let's reload this. And I don't see anything, so I don't think it's working yet. And let's just double check here. Um, hmm. Let's see, I believe it should be like that. Okay. My first suggestion, let's see. So let's open the database. So it's Python matchpy. So Fortune is asking me, are you still doing freelancing or job? I'm actually doing both. Um, so, even if you have a job, let's say you're working 8 hours a day, that doesn't mean that when you come home after work, I mean, a lot of people, most people probably just relax, spend hours on a TV, or just don't do much. I'm choosing to do this live stream, for example. That's already 1 hour when I'm not at work. And I try to put in at least another hour sometime during the day to either find customers or work on the on a different on this app specifically, or work on the design, or just work on making videos. Like, I'm looking to do something else, not just to sit around. It's not perfect, so I'm not going to say that if I have, if I work 8 hours and then I have another 6 hours free time. I'm not saying that those 6 hours I'm spending on freelancing, that's not true. But I try to do at least 2 hours, let's say 2, 3 hours, I would say, per day of freelancing. And I do a lot of things freelancing. I mean, I've done all kinds of things. I've done photography for weddings. I've done building websites. I've done WordPress, plenty of WordPress. I've done um, gardening, literally gardening, like going house by house with a lawn, with a trimmer, with a lawn, with a with a green machine, offering people to cut their grass. And I actually really like that gig because it's physical. It's not just sitting on a computer, just like all in your head. It's to get out there and you know, to sweat a little bit. I actually really like that. Um, I've I've done all kinds of freelancing stuff, like really driving people, like driving old people to their appointments and that sort of thing. What else? Uh, but to answer a question, yeah, right now I'm actually a project manager for an IT company. So I actually don't get to code that much. Most of my job really is to Excel spreadsheets. I have written some scripts in Python to try to automate some things, or instead of having to manually update the data from the spreadsheet onto a service, I could use that. I could do it through an API, and so I've written a couple of APIs. But yeah, but other than that, my job really is to be on the phone a lot and to kind of make sure that people are doing their job and that the stuff in the spreadsheet is accurate. That's more or less my job. Um, Someone else is doing the actual IT network design and all. There's like an actual engineer guy that does all that stuff. So my job is more to like manage the project. But yeah, that's another reason why I'm trying to stick to these live streams and to when I'm not live streaming, I'm also coding on the side, but to code every day because I don't want to forget. It's a very good skill and it's come in handy at work. They really like me. Like they really like that. I kind of fill in the skill that no one else has in the office, which is coding. Like no one actually knows how to code. Like everybody could do amazing networking stuff and IT stuff and you know shell like Python scripts and like for networking stuff, um, virtual machines, that sort of thing. But to actually go in there and code something, nobody knows how to do that. So they respect me a lot, and there have been a few instances where I've saved the day for everybody, just because I could write. You know, it'll take me a day or two to write a quick script, and then standardize. You know, a ton of data, for example. Maybe I'll make a video about that. That would make probably a nice video for this channel, and I still have all this data saved up, so I could probably show you guys what I mean. But we had this case where we had like all this data on a spreadsheet, let's say like 1,500 items of data, and to go item by hand would have taken weeks. And so I just wrote a script on Python, which basically asked for each line of data, it'll send a request to through the ChatGPT API to standardize that piece of data and then return it. And basically, it took me like 2 days to write it, and then when I ran it, it maybe took like an hour and a half to run, and it costs money. I do have to talk about that also in that video because ChatGPT's API is not cheap. It's really not. It cost me probably 20, 30, $40 just to run that script once. But I really did save the day. I mean, they really liked it. I think I even got a bonus because of that. Yeah, to talk about it. But I don't know, like a week or two after that, you know, like the boss of the company came, hey, I got a little end of the year bonus for you. Okay, I'll take it. Anyhow, so Python shell. You know what? Might be a nice video. I'll write it down. Maybe I'll make that video, guys. Share with you guys what the script was about, how I solved for it. Um, it's like a perfect example why learning to code it's good even if like I'm not actually a developer at work, right? I'm not actually developing apps for them, but more than once, my coding skills have helped me show my employer why I am good value, why I should, you know, why it's good to do business with me. Like, okay. So from, let's see, from, um, it's called feedback models, import all. Okay, and so I want to get this, I guess I just want to get, let's get this one, test 2. So I would say post, just call post equals feedback dot objects dot get, where the primary key is equal to, I think it's 1. Let's see, post dot title hello world. So it's this one. No, I don't want the first one. I want the second one. Let's try, because this one already has 9999. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. We'll do that one. All right, let's stick with this one for a second. Let's go back here. Post. Where are we here? Post dot title. Let's see. Post dot. I think it's feedback likes. Yeah. So this one has 9999. So over here, I don't think I'm keeping track of my actual key. So when I push this button, let's see the console here. We'll hit inspect here, and we'll go to the console. When I push here, see, it doesn't do anything, which leads me to believe that I'm not actually passing the actual primary key. Now, I do have to say, unfortunately, we have reached an hour of the stream, and I have a pretty packed schedule today, Farhan. But hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, and planning around the same time to do the live stream again. Or actually, tomorrow I might not do a live. Let me think. Tomorrow I'm actually traveling, but yeah, probably towards the end of the day. So maybe another 27, 28 hours from now, something like that. I'll be doing the live stream again, and I'll see you guys then. And in the meantime, just keep coding. If whatever homework you're working on, just try to put in your 1 or 2 hours today, and it really does add up. You'll notice after a month, that's 30 hours. That's like a ton of work. So, wishing you guys the best, and see you the next time.